Welcome back to the show. Today, we are dismantling everything you think you know about food. We are going to look at an ingredient that is sitting in your pantry right now, hiding in your fridge, and lurking in almost every single meal you eat at a restaurant. And I'm not talking about sugar. I'm not talking about carbs. I'm talking about something that Dr. Kate Shanahan calls dark calories.
It's good to be back, Sarah. And I have to admit, when you sent me this book, Dark Calories by Dr. Kate Shanahan, I was skeptical. We've done the sugar episodes. We've done the processed flour episodes. I thought I had a handle on the bad guys of nutrition. But this felt like reading a horror story where the villain was the call coming from inside the house.
That is exactly what it is, Alex. A horror story inside ourselves, Doctor. Shanahan's premise is terrifyingly simple. The root cause of chronic disease, of obesity, of the fact that we are sicker than ever before, isn't just that we eat too much. It's that we are eating a specific type of industrial toxin that we've been tricked into calling food. She calls them the Hateful Eight.
The Hateful Eight. It sounds like a Western movie, but it's actually the ingredient list on my salad dressing. We're talking about vegetable oils, right? But specifically corn, canola, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, and rice bran. I listed them out because I checked my kitchen this morning, Sarah. I'm batting 1,000. I have almost all of these.
And that is why this episode is so critical. We are consuming these oils at levels that are historically unprecedented. And the craziest part? We think they are healthy. We've been told for decades that vegetable oil is better for our hearts than butter or lard. But Alex, did you know where vegetable oil actually comes from? Because it certainly isn't a vegetable.
This was the first shocker for me. The history lesson in chapter 1. I honestly thought, naively, I guess, that you just squeezed some corn or soybeans and oil came out, like an olive, but the book explains that these oils essentially started as toxic waste.
Exactly. Let's go back to the 1,890 seconds. We're in a soap factory. Procter Gamble needed fat to make soap, but animal tallow was getting expensive. So they looked at the cotton industry. Cotton production left behind mountains of cotton seeds, which were effectively toxic waste. They contained a poison called gossypol. They were garbage, but chemists figured out that if you crushed them, refined them, bleached them, and deodorized them, you could get an oil.
So they used it for soap. Fine. But how did it end up in my pie crust?
Technology. A German chemist named Edwin Kayser walked into Procter & Gamble with a process called hydrogenation. He showed them that by blasting this liquid cottonseed oil with hydrogen, it turned into a solid that looked exactly like lard. P&G realized they could sell this cheap industrial waste byproduct as a cooking fat. They called it Crisco, and they marketed it as cleaner and healthier than animal fat because it was white and odorless.
It's pure marketing genius and absolute biological insanity. They took a byproduct of the textile industry, processed it until it had no smell or taste because originally it smelled terrible and sold it as food, and the book points out that this set the stage for everything else. Soy, corn, canola. They are all industrial seed oils that require massive chemical refineries to exist.
Right. You cannot make these oils in your kitchen. You need hexane solvents, literally components of gasoline to extract the oil. You need deodorization towers to strip away the rancid smell, Doctor. Shanahan quotes an industry insider who lists the crude oil contaminants, gums, metallic elements, aldehydes. It's a chemical soup that has to be scrubbed clean before it's bottled. And that scrubbing process? It strips away the antioxidants.
Okay, so it's processed. But I play devil's advocate here. Processed doesn't automatically mean poison, right? I mean, protein powder is processed. Why is this specific type of processing and this specific type of fat so dangerous? This brings us to the chemistry lesson that I actually found fascinating. The double bond.
Yes, this is the core of the book. If you understand this, you understand everything. Fats are made of chains of carbon atoms. Saturated fats, like butter or coconut oil, have no double bonds. Their chain is solid, straight, and sturdy. They are stable. You can heat them, and they don't break. But vegetable oils are polyunsaturated fatty acids, or PUFAs. They have multiple double bonds.
And the book describes these double bonds as being fragile.
Fragile is an understatement. Think of a double bond as a chemically open door that invites oxygen to come in and wreak havoc. Oxygen loves those double bonds. When oxygen hits a PUFA, especially when it's heated like in a fryer or a skillet, it triggers oxidation. This isn't just spoilage, it's a violent chemical reaction. It turns the oil into a generator of toxins.
Dr. Shanahan uses a great analogy here. She compares it to a forest fire. Once one molecule oxidizes, it sets off a chain reaction. It attacks the neighbor molecule, then the next. And this creates lipid oxidation products, or LOPs. And the list of these toxins is terrifying. Aldehydes, acrolein, these are the same class of carcinogens found in cigarette smoke.
That comparison is not hyperbole. The book cites research by Dr. Martin Grunfeld. He found that a standard serving of French fries cooked in vegetable oil contains 25 times more toxic aldehydes than the World Health Organization allows. He explicitly states that eating that serving of fries is equivalent to the toxicity of smoking 20 to 25 cigarettes.
25 cigarettes! Sarah, if I saw a mother handing her child a pack of Marlboros, I'd call the police. But we hand kids fries cooked in soybean oil every day. It's normalized poison.
And unlike a cigarette, which damages your lungs, these oils are food. We eat them. They are absorbed into our bodies. And this leads to the most disturbing part of the book for me, the Elgin Project. This is where we learn that we aren't just burning these oils for fuel, we are becoming them.
Right, the body fat composition. I think most people assume body fat is just stored energy, like a battery. It doesn't matter what charge the battery, the energy is the same. But Dr. Shanahan says that's dead wrong. Your body fat is made of what you eat. If you eat butter and beef, your body fat is saturated and stable. If you eat soy and corn oil, your body fat becomes polyunsaturated and unstable.
Precisely. The Elgin Project and later research by Dr. Stephan Guyenet showed that in 1959, the amount of PUFA in human body fat was about 9%. Today, it's over 21.5%. We have literally changed the chemical composition of the human body. We are walking around with body fat that is prone to oxidation. We have turned our own fat stores into a flammable hazard.
And this brings us to the mechanism of disease. Because if your body fat is unstable, what happens? Oxidative stress. The book describes this as the garbage catastrophe. Can you break that down? What is happening inside the cell when we are full of vegetable oil?
Imagine your cells are like a pristine kitchen. When you burn clean fuel, there's no smoke. But when your cells try to burn PUFAs, especially oxidized ones, it's like burning dirty coal. It throws off sparks called free radicals. These free radicals damage the machinery of the cell. They damage the DNA. They damage the proteins. This creates cellular garbage.
And normally, we have antioxidants to clean that up, right? Like vitamin E?
We do. But think of vitamin E as a firefighter. If you have a small campfire, one firefighter can handle it. But if you are eating vegetable oils every meal, you are setting the entire forest on fire. You deplete your vitamin E. You deplete your glutathione. You overwhelm your body's defense systems. The result is chronic inflammation. This is the root of Alzheimer's, heart disease, autoimmune issues. It's all connected to this oxidative stress.
This is a huge paradigm shift because usually when we talk about inflammation, we talk about stress or lack of sleep. But Dr. Shanahan is saying, no, you are physically building your body out of materials that spontaneously combust. That is a terrifying image.
It is. And it gets worse when we look at our energy levels. Alex, how many people do we know who are tired all the time? Or who get hangry?
Everyone, including me, sometimes. I thought hangry being angry and hungry was just a personality quirk or low blood sugar.
It is low blood sugar, but it's pathological. Dr. Shanahan dedicates chapter 3 and 4 to this. She explains that our mitochondria, the power plants of our cells, cannot efficiently burn this dirty vegetable oil fat. So, when your body tries to access its own fat stores for energy between meals, the mitochondria sputter and fail.
So, even if I have 20 pounds of excess body fat, my cells can't use it?
Exactly. You are starving in the midst of plenty. Your cells are screaming for energy, but they can't burn the fat because it's full of PUFAs and oxidative stress blocks the process. So, what do? They scream for sugar. Your brain panics. It thinks you are dying. It triggers a massive release of stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol to force your liver to dump glucose into your blood.
That's the hangry feeling. It's not just hunger, it's an adrenaline spike. It's a fight or flight response because my metabolism is broken.
Yes. And this cycle, high stress hormones, high blood sugar demand, inability to burn fat is the definition of insulin resistance. We've been told insulin resistance comes from being overweight, Dr. Shanahan flips it. Insulin resistance causes you to gain weight because you are trapped in this sugar-burning cycle. You can never access your fat stores.
This explains so much about the obesity epidemic. We look at charts of obesity and charts of vegetable oil consumption, and they map perfectly. We've been blaming the victims, telling them to eat less and move more, but if their cellular engines are clogged with toxic sludge, they physically can't burn the fuel.
It's tragic. And it affects our brains, too. The book mentions fat bodies, starving brains. When our brains are energy deprived because of this metabolic dysfunction, we get brain fog, anxiety, and even cognitive decline. The garbage we talked about earlier, it accumulates in the brain as amyloid plaques, the hallmark of Alzheimer's.
So, Sarah, we've established that the history is dark, the chemistry is dangerous, and the health consequences are catastrophic. But here is the challenge. If I go to my doctor today, he's probably going to tell me to avoid saturated fat and eat heart-healthy canola oil. Why is the medical establishment so behind on this?
That is the dark history part of the book. It leads back to the American Heart Association and a man named Ansel Keys. In the 1950 seconds, there was a desperate need to explain rising heart attack rates. Keys proposed it was saturated fat and cholesterol. It was a weak theory, but the vegetable oil industry Procter & Gamble specifically loved it.
Follow the money.
Always. P&G gave the American Heart Association, AHA, a massive infusion of cash, $1.7 million in today's dollars, to launch them as a national powerhouse. In return, the AHA endorsed vegetable oils as heart healthy. That partnership created the dogma we live with today. Doctors aren't taught lipid toxicology. They are taught guidelines written by organizations funded by the oil industry.
It's infuriating. But look, we promised the listeners a way out. We don't want to leave them in the darkness. The book is called Dark Calories, but part 3 is Taking Back Our Health. How do we fix this? Is it as simple as just stopping?
The simple answer is yes, but the execution requires vigilance. The first step is the purge. You have to go into your kitchen and throw out the Hateful Eight. If the bottle says vegetable oil, toss it. If it says corn, canola, soy, toss it.
And replace them with what? The book lists the 4 pillars of traditional diets, but specifically for fats?
We go back to what humans ate for thousands of years. Butter, tallow, beef fat, lard, if it's not hydrogenated. And for plant oils, olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil. These are extracted simply, usually by pressing, without toxic solvents. They are stable. They don't oxidize the moment you heat them.
The hardest part isn't the kitchen, though. It's the restaurants. Dr. Shanahan says nearly all restaurants use these oils. How do we navigate that? Do I have to become a hermit?
It's tough, but she gives strategies. First, avoid deep-fried foods entirely when eating out. The fryer is the engine of toxicity. Second, ask for things cooked in butter, or simply grilled. Salad dressings are the biggest trap. Ask for olive oil and vinegar on the side. It's about reducing the load. You might not be perfect, but every gram of vegetable oil you avoid is a win for your mitochondria.
And the good news is the recovery time. The book mentions that while it takes years to fully replace all the fat in your body, you can feel the difference in your brain and hunger levels in just a couple of weeks.
That's the 2-week challenge. Dr. Drew Pinsky tried it and said he couldn't believe how good he felt after just 14 days. When you stop poisoning your mitochondria, they bounce back. Your energy stabilizes. The hangry monster disappears. You start burning your own fat again.
It's empowering. It's scary to realize we've been misled for so long, but once you know, you can't unknow it. You look at that bottle of heart-healthy canola oil, and you just see the factory, the bleach, and the toxins.
Exactly. Knowledge is the antidote. Dr. Shanahan wrote this book to start a revolution, and I think she's succeeding. We have the power to turn off the inflammation, clear out the garbage in our cells, and reclaim our vitality. It starts with one simple rule. Ditch the Hateful Eight.
Thanks for breaking this down with me, Sarah. I'm going home to do a pantry purge right now.
Me too, Alex. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Here's to good health and real food. See you next time.